Hi guys, so today I am going to talk to you about a topic somebody brought up to me, and actually I saw an article online about it recently, and it's not something new, but the topic was about how women used to, and I think they still do actually, sometimes change their pen name, that it's either masculine or it's one of those things where they're not really sure. Is it, like, I want to say Ellen Montgomery. I say that because I'm from PEI, and that just makes sense because I'm sure way back when she started writing, back in the day, they probably didn't accept women as anything except mothers. Yeah, definitely not as writers, anything that involved, I don't know, your brain. I'm just being a little bitchy. Anyway, not to say that, that women don't also in this day and age do the same thing. I don't want to say for sure anybody or name names. I'm sure you can think of some people who are, you see their name and it's a bit ambiguous. You can't really tell for sure. But I'm sure it still happens. And I know even as a female writer myself, I'm very careful. For example, when I create a cover, not that I create it, but when I pick an image out to help create the cover, I'm very particular. I try not to have it most times, although it has happened, that it's overtly feminine. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't necessarily feel like my books are directed just to a feminine audience. And so I'm concerned that if my cover looks too frilly and fluffy, that men will not read my books. And I know this is going to sound harsh too, but when you see book covers and they're kind of illustrated as opposed to having, I shouldn't say illustrated, but there's some that have more of a almost cartoonish feel to them. I know that's going to sound mean, and some people are going to be like, what a bitch, I can't believe she said that. That's okay, I've been called worse, it's okay. To me, that's not a book that appeals to a male so much. And in some cases it does, but a lot of men aren't going to look at a book that's really, has like a picture of a really pretty white wedding bell and like this pastel blue background and be like, oh, wow, I totally want to read that book. That's just not going to happen. Of course, it can go the other way. If you have a cover that's too masculine, a lot of women may look at it and be like, oh, that looks, doesn't really look like it would be a great book for me. But it's all a matter of opinion. However, I worry about it. I think about these things. I think about these things when I create titles and also when I create characters. I'm very concerned about having my characters, especially my female characters, be very strong. But even my male characters, because I feel like if I'm not, then a man might read my book and say, oh, that's because she's a girl that wrote it. Of course, she's going to make them all soft and sweet. And I probably go almost to the other extreme where my male characters are kind of barbaric at times, maybe violent, maybe a little too much the other way. But again, there is always that fear. If I make things too light and fluffy, for lack of better words, the people will be like, oh, it's because she's a girl writer. She's going to write girlish stuff. It's going to be really boring, and it's all about people getting married and falling in love. No, not all women write that. And I find it interesting, though, that as a woman, I'm not sure if I'm going to get credit for writing something that's probably more of a masculine feel to it, but then you have somebody like maybe Nicholas Sparks that writes kind of more directed toward women, sort of more love stories, and everybody's like, oh, isn't that great? Isn't that so sweet how he can write that? I love a man's perspective. I do think there is kind of a double standard there, and I've heard that before, and I thought it was just me until that time. I thought, yeah, like, I don't know. What do you think? Am I being harsh? Probably. And I see it. I really think that you are judged a little bit more harshly as a woman in a lot of areas. Right now, you look at Hollywood and a lot of these allegations that are coming out. So, it's not just writing. And I'm sure that if you write in Hollywood, speaking of which, it's probably a little harsher if you're a woman. I totally can see that. I can totally see that. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that there's a certain, do you think men are as apt to read a female writer's books? Or do you think they kind of look at them skeptically? Do you think that there's certain images on the cover, certain titles, certain kind of characters appeal more um, to a male or female audience? What do you think? I mean, I know a lot of women that read my books, and my books can be pretty violent and whatnot, and they love them. But then other women read them, and they're too much. But I don't know. I don't know. I know. But to be honest, I mean, and I don't just write, I should probably be really clear. I don't just write the way I do because I fear what people will think, but I do feel a little pressure to be aware that I don't want to be stereotyped as a girl writer who writes girlish stuff. You know, that's just not me. And I don't know. What do you think? Is that crazy? Probably a lot of crazy. Give me your opinion. If you're a writer, what do you think? Is there a difference? If you're a female writer, do you feel pressure to write and to make sure your story doesn't seem too feminine, too fluffy? Is that just me? Am I just being crazy? Probably. Do you look at male and female writers differently? Do you think male writers get more respect? I don't know. I mean, I've heard that. I don't know if that's too necessarily true. Look at J.K. Rowling. I mean, who can you respect more than her? She rocks. She freaking rocks. And, yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Have an opinion? And if you're not a writer, if you're a creative genius of any other kind, what do you think about your field? And if you're in the business world, if you're in any world, do you think there's a difference? Do you think males and females get treated differently? Do you think you have to act differently, or do you work differently in accordance to that? I'm just curious. I'm just really interested. Anyways, guys, that's my opinion on that. Have a great day.